Hey everybody, Red and Carruthers here for your Future Stars forecast on this 2-year-old Tuesday. Before I get to my very special guest, let's recap what we saw during the weekend and just specifically for the 2-year-olds. We had a couple of dirt dozen races at Churchill Downs. Now, those are not straight up win and you're in contests, but those races do offer a tiered bonus bankroll toward entry fees. And one of those races, a dirt dozen event for the Net Jets Juvenile Fillies, is the Pocahontas Stakes. That's also a point race toward the Kentucky Oaks. That was won by Taken by the Wind, ridden by Irada Ortiz. That was making it a record 5 wins in the Pocahontas for Kenny McPeak, by the way. She is owned in part by the McPeaks as Magdalena Racing. You also have Graham Levinston as part of the ownership group and football legend Terry Bradshaw. And in the Iroquois, that's a dirt dozen event for the FanDuel Juvenile. It's also a points race for the Kentucky Derby. That was won by Spice Runner under Jose Ortiz for Steve Asmussen. He's a homebred for Winchell Thoroughbreds, a son of Hall of Famer gun runner and a full brother to Gun Knight, who was second in the 2023 Breeders' Cup Sprint. Now, as far as the official win and your ins for the 2-year-olds go, we got to talk about some action across the pond. I got to say this one slowly. Benvenuto Cellini and Christoph Sumian won the KPMG Champions Juvenile at Leopardstown for Aidan O'Brien, Brandt, Magnier, Tabor, Smith, and Westerberg. He is a son of the great Frankel. And fun fact for you, he is out of newspaper of record. She won the 2018 Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies Turf. So very cool to see that. We also saw Precise, guided by Rowan Whelan, seize a ticket to the John Deere Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies Turf, scoring the Moigler Stud Stakes. That was at the Curragh for Smith, Magnier, Tabor, Westerberg, trained by Aidan O'Brien. She has now won 3 of 4 starts, rather. Her only loss was a runner-up finish on debut. So a filly you got to keep your eye on. Then at Woodbine, we saw Argos. That's the son of 2015's Breeders' Cup Juvenile champ Nyquist win the Summer Stakes. That was under Flavian Pratt. And this is for owner David Romanek and Riley Mott, giving the trainer his second Grade 1 win in short order because he'd won the Saratoga Derby in August with World Beater. So very cool. And then the Natalma Stakes, won by Corsia Veloce under Fraser Abley. This is a homebred for Hillendale and Mario Serrani and trained by Canadian Hall of Famer Josie Carroll, who joins me now. Hey, Josie, how are you?
I'm great.
Well, yeah, I mean, that had to feel pretty awesome. I was watching the interview after the race, and you said that not only is the fact that you've had this relationship with the ownership group, it's a homebred, but you've actually had some experience training some of the family members as well.
I have, and indeed, Glenn and Mario as partners have waited a long time for a good horse. Glenn, of course, with his brother John, has had good horses along the way. Mario's been a lifetime friend of his, I think 40 years, and I've had horses for them for at least 15, 16 years, and they finally got a stake winner together. So very exciting for them. As I was saying prior, when we were talking, we thought we had a good horse for them a few years ago during COVID. The brother, actually, to this filly, he won his first 2, was shortlisted for the Queen's Plate. You know, everybody very, very excited, trained well over the winter. And then he went back to Woodbine, and I came up from Florida and was in quarantine. At that time, we had to spend 2 weeks in quarantine if we came to Canada from the US, when I got a call from my barn that this horse was out on the track. His name was Corsi, and he was out on the track, and somebody was run off with a 2-year-old who T-boned him and broke his shoulder. Oh. Of course, I'm stuck in quarantine. I can't go there. It was just horrendous. But the happy ending is that he did survive.
Thank God. Oh my gosh.
A stallion in Barbados. So
oh wow.
He's living the good life.
I guess. Oh wow. Oh my gosh. And how rare is an accident like that in the first place, and then for him to survive it?
It was, you know, number one, unbelievable that it happened. I mean, devastating. That was their first good horse together. It was devastating. And of course, I'm at home, and when they called me, they thought they might have to euthanize him on the track. And And, you know, I have a great veterinarian, Candace Allen. She said, whoa, before we do this, let's see what we can do. You know, it took a tremendous amount of effort, obviously, to save him. And there was some deficit in the shoulder, but he certainly has full function. And I guess he's living the good life on the island.
Is he a real smart horse? Because I would think that to be a good patient, you would have to have some intelligence to understand, you know, all the efforts of the medical team and to relax, not to strain it.
You know, I'm thinking, you know, on thinking back now that I have his sister, I think they have the same traits in that they're very, very tough, very focused horses. I think that stood him in good stand because he was a great patient.
Oh gosh, I mean, I can't imagine those types of accidents are very rare. I do remember Kayaksha Electronica years ago had a morning training accident of that nature where there was a collision. And it's just, again, it's just one of those freak things that can happen. There's so much you have to be mindful. And before we talk more about Corsia Veloce, I think it would be great. I mean, you're a Hall of Famer, so we don't need to do an introduction. People should know who you are. But we do also have a lot of new fans to racing as well. So it'd be very cool to be able to take it back and for you to tell your story about how you got involved with racing and just some of the indelible memories you've made.
You know, really, I did not come from a racing family. I did not come from a horse family. I think some things maybe are just fated. I don't know. But from the time I was small, I was fascinated with horses. And at that time, our sport got a lot of coverage in newspapers, you know, and every weekend I would cut out pictures of the stake horses. And I still have scrapbooks of them from 40 years ago. I have no idea where it came from, but that fascination was there, you know, and also the sport part of it, because I do have charts of my gambling for every race every day and how I made out. I was probably like 8 years old, but
I love it.
Just pick the good names. And, you know, sometimes you just think you're drawn to a path.
Oh my gosh. Now, are you born, raised in Canada?
I am.
And so was Woodbine your home track then, or was it a different part of Canada from which you moved?
No, Woodbine has been my home base.
Yeah. And so that track is so impressive. I've been there a couple of times. I grew up in Michigan. And so I don't know, did you ever make it over at all during your career to Detroit Racecourse?
Hazel Park at that time.
Hazel Park. Well,
I grew up way back.
Well, I grew up going to Detroit Racecourse. And so you guys are never too far. I think it's about a 4 to 5 hour drive from Detroit. And but it's such great racing. And you have I know it's the Tapeta track now, but you know, multiple turf courses. And then I believe the EP Taylor is under they're doing renovations, right?
They are. I think for training a horse, we really are a superior track. You know, we have the main Tapeta track at a mile to race on. We have the inner turf course at 7/8 for those kind of horses that like those tighter turns. And then your big outside 1.5 mile turf course for the horses that thrive on that. We have a mile training track. Inside of that, we have a 7/8 turf course that we train on 3 days a week. There's a track through a field for legging up horses. So we really, the facilities for our horses are tremendous. You can really mentally stimulate them. You can change things up and really give them a good experience.
Well, I love it. And so to take it back again, you were inducted into the Hall of Fame there in Canada in 2019. And it's because you've accomplished a lot. You're talking about how, as a young girl, these horses just captivated you. I know that you went and you worked for a Hall of Famer yourself under Mac Benson. And
yes, that was when he had the Winfield horses. So
yes,
that was pretty exciting. Got to meet Mr. Taylor himself at that time. So the history of, they were the foundation of Canadian racing, really, when you look back. Foundation of much of racing with Northern Dancer.
Yes. And that was one of the things that was also kind of sad when we recently saw Ron Turcotte pass away. And of course, he's so tied to Secretariat, which who wouldn't want to be tied to Secretariat, right? But I think people also forget
Absolutely.
he was aboard Northern Dancer for that debut.
Yeah, I think a lot of the world doesn't really know how much Canada has contributed to
Oh yeah.
our racing. You know, we really at one time we were very, very strong up here. Unfortunately, things have dwindled as they have everywhere in the sport. But you know, hopefully there seems to be a bit of a revival in North America with people buying a lot of nice horses. So hopefully the same thing holds true up here.
Well, how was the whole atmosphere on King's Plate Day this year? It looked like it was packed.
It was packed. It was packed, and I think, you know, management have do a great job on that day of attracting. There was a younger crowd, a lot of just a lot of energy, and that's what you really want to see come back to racing. You know, we need more of those days where people are out. I think we need to put our fans closer to our horses. Yeah. I think when people get close to them and see how magnificent they are, I think they get a whole different perspective on racing.
Oh, I agree with that. I mean, there's just something, we all have a different reason, I guess, or some of us have very similar reasons of why we're just so drawn to these horses. And for you, there's just something that captivated you as a girl, even though you didn't grow up in it. For me, I grew up on the farm. For other people, they went to the track, their dad, and you know, there's just a whole slate of reasons. But these horses, they carry more than their rider. They carry so much. They carry our hopes, they carry our wagers, they carry the excitement, and they do it for the love of it. These horses are just so beautiful to watch in action. But you know, talking about the King's Plate and just that type of energy, and I know it was the Queen's Plate at the time, but you've won this race 3 times. You won with Edenwald in 2006, rather, at 16-1. He was champion 2-year-old the year prior. And I know, reading some old articles, the reason he went off at 16-1 is people kind of question, would he get the distance? But you never did.
No, I really believed in him. And at that time, there hadn't been a 2-year-old champion win it in something like 20 years. And I think that put the wagerers off of him because he had done nothing wrong. He constantly showed up. And on that day, it was his day.
So cool. And then you won it with a filly in 2011 with Inglorious, which, you know, very cool. I know we've seen multiple fillies win, you know, over the course of the years, but still, I mean, you're taking on a big pack of boys. It's pretty cool to see her, you know, come out on top there. And then you won with an absolute fan favorite with, Mighty Heart. Mighty Heart was just so cool. This was in 2020. So we had that crazy year, awful year. But Mighty Heart, I think that's also part of it. I mean, here is this, you know, this really trying time. And here's this horse with a disability. And he just was living up to his name with every outing. And he won that, the then Queen's Plate. And then he wins the Prince of Wales. He ended up winning over $1.1 million.
Yeah, what an exciting horse he was. An injury in the paddock when he was a foal took his eye. But there have been many good horses that are able to overcome that. Yeah. His first 2 races we ran at the fairgrounds, and he was a little questionable. He took out half the field the first 2 starts. He really didn't know what he was doing. And I know his owner at the time said, you know, should we just be putting him in for a claiming race? And I remember saying at the time, you know, just have some faith in him. I said, you're going to think I'm absolutely nuts, but I want you to pay the fee and nominate him to the Queen's Plate. You know, and he said, are you sure? I said, I'm absolutely sure. You know, he's shown us so much ability. I think we can get past this. It's definitely worth the gamble. So he sort of paid us off in spades.
Oh my gosh. So there had to be a conversation after he did indeed win it with the owners about that conversation, right?
Not really. I think everybody was on such a high.
You didn't get to say, I told you so.
But, just on another note that I think, especially people new to the sport will appreciate. I just saw posted on his Instagram yesterday because he retired. They yelled at him. He was riding in Western saddle and learning to cut to pen cattle.
Oh my gosh.
So, these horses, I mean, I think people tend to think, after racing's done, they're off to slaughter or what happens to them. But there's great futures for them. So this champion has now started a new life, and maybe he'll be a champion in a new sport.
I love it. That makes me so happy to hear that he's got a new job. I know, for example, Lava Man for a long time, they were using him as one of the ponies out there at the track. Who else is that I know has been having some good times in their second career that it would be a big name. Oh my gosh. There's a lot. Like Wise Dan, I think, has been doing Western, successful Dan's on the farm there with him at Charlie Lepresti's.
Right.
And so it's just really cool. I mean, Whitmore, I think he's showing. There's just and these horses these thoroughbreds. I'm biased. I'm totally biased. They can do everything and anything, and they have such big hearts. Whether it's dressage, Western, even the sports, the gymkhana, all that. They're so capable.
But they're natural athletes. They're just natural athletes. And I think they just need that chance. And there's so many organizations out there now that are dedicated to rehoming them that I think there's a future for all of them. Once they get off the track, you just have to find their path.
Yeah, we have the Thoroughbred Aftercare Alliance doing a great job as the umbrella charity for all these different ones that get money from them. And no, I think these horses are spectacular, and a lot of them are retired young, so they still have a whole career ahead of them. We're the one sport where you're kind of considered up there if you're 5 years old, but we see in the show world some of these horses aren't even started really in earnest until they're about 4 or 5.
Exactly.
I just think, like you said, that they're awesome. And going back to talking about Mighty Heart, while he did not seize the Triple Crown itself, you did still, because you won the third leg of it with his stablemate, and that was Belichick. So what was that whole experience like for you?
Oh, it was very surreal because it was COVID and we didn't have fans. So the whole thing was a little eerie. Anyway, but the mile and a half, we have a very difficult Triple Crown. I mean, it was on 3 surfaces.
Different surfaces. Yeah.
First is on Tapeta, then you move to dirt, and then back to a mile and a half on the grass, which is a big challenge, Yeah. And unfortunately, Mighty Heart got hooked on the lead and didn't complete the Triple Crown, but Belichick finished second to him in the Queen's Plate. And he was training like brilliantly into it and was going to love the distance. So, when we saw Mighty Heart fading, I could see Belichick starting to gear up, and it was just so exciting to see him come flying down the stretch.
Oh, wow. Did you have a big celebration at the barn? Obviously, it takes the whole team.
I have a great team of people. Most of them have been there. I mean, I'm saying 25, 26 years.
Wow. See, that's a testament to great leadership. People want to stay with a great leader.
It's just wonderful. In fact, the groom of Corsia Veloce was the exercise rider for Edenwald back in 2006 until he couldn't gallop anymore. And then he wanted to stay doing something. So he grooms a few horses, and she just happened to be one.
Oh my gosh. Oh, that's such a cool connection right there. Okay, so we're going to say Veloce, not Veloce.
I know I always mispronounce it. So.
No, don't worry. We had Donna Veloce in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies a couple of years back for Simon Callahan. But so I don't know. Some of these names time me up. Like, in the Open, we had Benvenuto Cellini. He's an artist and a sculptor, but you got to say it with the flourish there. And sometimes I get a little, I already have giant teeth, and so I get tongue tied, tripping over them. But hey, whatever you want to call her, the main thing you need to call her is undefeated.
Mario, her owner, is Italian. He pronounces it just perfectly, and we all get it wrong. But at the end of the day, I think it means fast lane, and
yes,
in English. And she certainly knew how to find the fast lane.
I love that. She was actually born up there in Ontario. And when she debuted, though, even though they have a lot of great state bred main special weights. She was debuted against open company, and not just open company, but against the boys there on the Tapeta, going the 5.5, and she won by a neck. Showed a lot of guts there. So was that always the plan, to just, let's go ahead and we don't have to wait for a filly race or a restricted race?
She was coming to hand. She was ready. The filly race didn't fill. It carried over. I think it was probably gonna fill the next week. The boys race was a short field, and this filly's just been a tough little nut, and she breezed every day with the colts I have. So we said,
why not? I love it. Well, she did beat 7 other horses, and ended up these days an 8-horse field isn't bad, and especially when you're talking about a sprint. Now, this was back on July 6th, again, on the Tapeta there. One of the things that has been abundantly clear whenever, as a handicapper, from that perspective, you're looking at the past performances or the entries, and you see Josie Carroll, the first-time starter, you got to take notice. You hit consistently at over even 20% with your first-time starters.
Thank you, Ed.
And what is the secret? What is the secret to the success, not just with the first-time starters, but in particular the 2-year-olds?
I think you have to give a lot of credit to the owners I have. They never expect me to run a horse before it's ready. And when horses are precocious, I'm going to run them. So, maybe that's why, because I don't run them if they're not ready, they're not precocious. I have great clients who just want the best for their horses and to see them develop properly.
What do you need to see from that horse before you're like, okay, yeah, let's go ahead and enter? Because like you said, there are a lot of trainers, they'll race them into fitness. They'll race them into that. And as you're saying, you're waiting until you're like, okay, no, this is a horse who, if I run them, they could win.
Often you'll have a 2-year-old that's got a lot of works in, is very fit, but mentally isn't there. In his or her breezes, they're not beating their company. They're distracted. They don't seem to be focused. And I think until a baby is focused, they don't really get the job done for you.
Yeah.
What maturity?
What is the whole training program that you have before the horse comes into you?
Different horses go to different places. Mm-hmm. This particular filly was in Ocala with Mike Cook, who did just a tremendous job. And I actually hired his exercise girl for the winter to the racetrack.
Wonderful.
She wasn't very experienced on the racetrack. She had been out in Western Canada for 1 season at Century Downs, and then was doing babies on the farm. And wow. Mike said to me, this girl's really good. She's going to be really good. So when she came up, I let her stick with the filly, and that was really kind of fun.
Oh, and I think it helps the horse acclimate, obviously, if they've got that comfort of a familiar hand guiding them along. But yeah, I know a lot of, Mark Cassie, he has that farm down there in Ocala. So obviously he is training his own facility there where his horses come in from and whatnot. And it's interesting too, when we are talking about 2-year-olds. Sometimes you'll have it where this is a homebred, for example. Sometimes you'll have it where somebody's bought a horse from a sale, whether it's been the yearling sale or whether it's been a 2-year-old in training sale. And I actually had Bob Baffert on a couple of weeks ago, and he was talking about how sometimes when you get these horses from the 2-year-old sales, you got to turn them out for a little while because they're so keyed up.
Yeah, I know that's exactly the truth. And it's what those consigners have to do to showcase these horses. So they come in and all they know is go fast. They don't know relax and finish. They don't know breeze and company. So there's a lot they don't know. So sometimes they do have to clear their heads a little bit before you kick on with them.
Do you frequent the sales as well?
I don't do a lot of 2-year-old buying anymore, just because the clients I have aren't inclined that way, but we still get the odd one in.
Oh, okay. And is there something in particular that you really like to see from a physical standpoint with a prospect? I don't know if you saw it, was really cool to watch. Somebody had posted on X this video of D. Wayne Lucas going over his non-negotiables. He had, I believe, 5 non-negotiables
Really?
regarding buying a horse.
I wouldn't say I have 5 non-negotiables, but I do recall I went to pull a horse out at Waiver Trees consignment at a 2-year-old sale, and Karen said to me, "I'm not showing you that horse." I said, "Why?" He says, "Because you won't buy anything that doesn't have a good walk." I said, "Well, I could see it anyway." He said, "No, I know you. That's your thing. Everybody has their thing." He said, "That's your," and I didn't even realize that was my thing until he told me.
Well, yeah, you know, that's one of the things. That nice big swinging walk, tracking up. Is there something that you think we make too much of that is forgivable?
I really couldn't say, because everybody has their, their own guidelines when they're buying a horse.
Yeah.
I think you just want an athlete, and it seems to me if they don't grab me when they come out, and I have to talk myself into buying them, they don't do as well. There's something about good horses that almost from the start, most of the time, I won't say all the time, but most of the time, there's something about that first impression that grabs you.
Yeah, they have like it factor.
Exactly.
It's like when that person walks in the room, you're like, who is that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this little filly was like that. She's not very big, but
Oh my
when
gosh,
she's
with the
there,
heart.
she
Oh,
dominates. She's the presence there. It doesn't matter
yeah.
how big she is. She's
No,
a big personality.
I've got the replay, which I'll show here in a couple of minutes, but because I was just so impressed by the guts she showed. I mean, she's only 2, she's pinned on the rail, and
Yeah,
it
she's
didn't
not
deter
afraid of
her.
anything. I mean, and we knew that when we got the 1 hole, we were a little bit concerned, and I said to Fraser, I just don't want to gun her out of there. The John Service horse is so fast that we don't want to cook each other. I said, but we've got to get in position. So let's just break her and drift off the rail a little so we don't get pinned. And, hopefully you can find your way through. And I was very confident with this filly that if there was an opening, she doesn't care. She's going through because she has that fire in her. She has
Oh, you can
fire.
see it. Again, I'll show the replay here in a minute. You can see it. This is, a lot of times we talk about these performances and, oh yeah, the horse, got through the hole, but unless you actually watch how they do it, and you can see the determination. She was, yeah, right. But before we get to that, just to put the emphasis on the fact that the Natalma, not only a grade 1, but a win and you're in for the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies turf. You've been to the Breeders' Cup. You've had 3 Breeders' Cup starters over the course of your career. You had back in 2009, Careless Jewel and Millionaire. She had won the grade 1 Alabama. I know it didn't go the way we may have hoped there in the distaff. She showed speed and then she faded out, but still, and I think is she not, correct me if I'm wrong, she had Jane Lyon's farm, or Jane Lyon rather?
I know they retired her from breeding. She had some complications.
Oh, I think she's at Summer Wind. I'm almost sure with Jane Lyon, but don't quote me on that, everybody. I'm doing that off the top of my head. And then Lee Court, the filly and mare sprint of 2014, and that was the year that Judy the Beauty won. She was 5th. And then this one, Emmy's Mesa, the filly mare sprint of 2017, 2nd there, just got caught on the wire by a nose to Baragold.
That was hard. I mean, we beat her in the Masters by a nose. And then she turned it around, and I said, boy, I wish it had been the other way around. That's racing.
Well, before we move back to Corsia Veloce or Veloce, however you would like to say it, you've had a lot of the Emmys. You've had
you froze
Flatter.
I didn't hear you.
Oh, sorry. I was just saying you've had a lot of experience with the Emmys. Or Amy's.
Oh, the Amy family, yes. So Ivan Delos has been a long time owner of mine, and that was a pretty amazing family. Continues to be, as the filly he sold, Copion, is now carrying the torch.
But how cool is that for you? Like, I mean, even from just that connection there.
It's always exciting to see that family because I know them so well. They are just solid performers.
Yeah. Which one was the first you got?
God, I'd have to think back. Might have been Amis Flatter who won the Commonwealth.
That sounds like
I can't remember what
chronologically, that
order
sounds
they
right.
came in, but
Right? But
you know,
was it one or two of them were champions?
Amis Gizmo was a champion.
Yes.
He won a couple of the Triple Crown races in Canada.
Yes.
But they've just been a really solid family.
That's awesome. And it is cool when you cultivate these relationships. Do you still, when you think back on, what you've achieved with, a certain ownership group or owner, how that first came about, that connection first happened, and wow, we've come this far?
Yeah, it's really amazing sometimes. It starts out with one horse or two horse for an owner, and then they become, part of your history.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed developing young horses, and I've been so fortunate over the years, to have Mr. Delos horses, and I think I'm on third or fourth generation with some of them. A couple of them are standing at stud in Canada, so we're getting
cool. Yeah.
And I've, as I told you before, we've had the same crew. So when the horses get off the van, they'll say, "Well, this one's from my family. I had her mother. That one's mine. That one's mine." So it's very bonding in the barn as well. And of course, John Secura as well. We're on third generations, so I think it makes it so much more special.
Yeah, it does. And do you find, or do we maybe want to think? I think it's true. I think we see personality traits come through generation to generation. I don't think it's just us imagining that the baby's taking a trait in that way from the mom. I think it is so, having grown up on a farm myself.
I think I'm both good and bad.
Yeah.
So sometimes you'll get one off and you'll say, "Uh-oh, please don't be like mom."
Oh my gosh. Well, in your career that hold on a second. I'm so sorry. This is a live show, everybody. So if you have a question for Josie, by all means, pop it up there. Jorge here is saying, "Vamos arriba." Hello, George or Jorge, however you like to pronounce your name. I'm having pronunciation issues today. I mean, because everybody, sometimes it's George, sometimes it's Jorge. Don't know. It's like with Castellano. We always talk about the double L. That's one of those ones that my husband met. He always says it's supposed to be Castellano, and I've asked Javier before. He doesn't have a preference. But so when we're looking at the course of your career and all these different horses you've trained, do you have one so far? Because some people might think that, it's obvious it's this horse, but sometimes it's not. Do you have a horse that you consider to be your heart horse, or the horse that you think you've so far, because the career's still going, you've done your best work so far with? It's been your masterpiece.
So many special horses over the years. I think because Edenwell was my first big winner, he's always going to be very special. And I really, when people ask about, big moments in my racing, I'll never forget when he was coming back after winning the Queen's Plate, and the crowd started to applaud him, and it just went in a wave from one end of the grandstand to the other. And it was a pure moment in sport. It was nothing about the wagering or the racing. It was just that pure appreciation for the horse and his accomplishments. And I think that's a moment that sort of ingrained that horse in my heart, because it was so special and so what we're supposed to be about.
Oh yeah, I can only imagine. The idea of a whole grandstand cheering your horse.
Yeah, it was very, very special.
Well, now as we look ahead to this filly, because again, your work is prolific, and it's not just specific to 2-year-olds, but as I mentioned before, the success rate with which you've had with just getting these babies ready to go and achieve whatever it is that they're capable of doing, you're able to bring that out in them. And so after she did win that debut, again, July 6th on the Tapeta over the boys, going just 5.5 furlongs, you did go ahead and put her in against stakes competition in the Catch a Glimpse, named, of course, for Catch a Glimpse. who was a champion 2-year-old horse of the year as a 2-year-old, I believe, for Mark Cassie. And she came through that day going the 6.5 on the turf. And, that was after a wide trip also. So what were your impressions of her victory there?
Again, just a horse that wants to win.
Yeah, she just has that. She just has that.
It's very uncomplicated. Just goes over there and wants to do the job.
Well, now this is where I think some people, she ended up going, she was 11-1 that day, and she still didn't get any respect there in the Natalma. But to be fair, Charlie Appleby, Godolphin, William Buick had brought over a horse to contend. And so obviously people just seeing the connections there, they throw a lot of money that way. But yeah, she went off 12-1. And I don't know, maybe part of it was people were going, oh, well, we're going to go a mile now. And Practical Joke out of City Zip. But we've seen, Practical Joke, son of Into Mischief, and Into Mischief, we've seen what he can do getting those classic winners. And City Zip, I think a lot of people also forget, he does have, he does impart brilliance, but he's also a half brother to Ghost Zapper, who he could do anything. But this filly, she not only came through, and it would have been also one thing too, when we're talking about the EP Taylor turf course, where you're doing then the Natalma at the 1-turn mile. But because of those renovations, she proved herself at 2 turns, which is what she's going to have to do when she goes to Del Mar. So it's kind of cool to see that she handled that as well.
It is. And actually, I was probably a little more confident on that inner course than I would have been with the 1-turn mile.
Really? Okay, that's interesting to know.
Just because of her athleticism. You're never sure how horses are going to handle those tighter turns. And she just moves like a cat. I knew she'd get around there fine. And that gave me a little boost of confidence in her.
Okay. And so when you do look, I know, as I said on the phone to you yesterday when we set this up, I know it's all a matter of, okay, next steps. And everything is day by day when you're training horses. I totally get that. But let's say it's the whole ideal scenario. Everything goes smoothly according to what you would ideally want to do. What is it that you want to do leading up to the Breeders' Cup itself?
All she has to do is what she's done so far. She just has to train the way she's been training.
Oh, that's, yeah. And as you've said, she seems to be, straightforward. Sounds like she really enjoys her job.
Yeah. She has a little temper out on the track if she's not getting her own way. She's by no means sweet, but you like, but she does what she's supposed to do, and you like to see a little bit of that, especially in the Fillies.
That fight.
I like to have that little edge.
She's got an interesting pedigree too. Not only from Ori discussing her mom was stakes play, or her mom Beth Bling was out of Got Bling, who was stakes placed by Lancashire. So there's a little more speed there. But the sister to Barnsey, and Barnsey was a multiple stakes winner. You also have Too Much Bling in there. He was trained by Bob Baffert. Graded stakes winner. El Kabir's in the pedigree as well. He won the Kentucky Jockey Club, the Gotham. Just a lot of black type already to her.
Yeah, there's a lot of positive things, and of course her being Canadian bred, setting aside how exciting the Breeders' Cup is, there are so many opportunities at 2 and 3. Probably at 3 if we end up being fortunate enough to go Breeders' Cup for those Canadian breds. There's a lot of money on the table if you have a nice Canadian bred. Oh
yeah, definitely. They've got a great program there. Aaron, was that your first grade 1 on Saturday? No, Aaron. That was what number is that for you of grade 1 races?
That would be 3. That would be 3. Careless Jewel, Luke's Alley, and then this filly.
Oh gosh, see, I would, you know what I mean? But it's that we forget, like for example, the King's Plate, it's not
a grade 1. No.
Right?
It has international standing. It's our biggest race, but it doesn't have international standing.
It's only your Kentucky Derby.
Yeah.
But still that is incredible to think. But yes, in the Canadian Hall of Fame, Josie is a really friendly and great horse enthusiast. Yes, she is. I agree with that. How before I show this replay, How has the fandom been for you? When I posted that you were going to be on the show, I got lots of nice feedback.
Yeah, really. I mean, I'm just concentrating. I just do my job.
Oh no, what was it? I'm looking up one of the comments right now. Let's see here. Gotta scroll down. She's a really good horsewoman and most of all, really nice person. Back in the day, she used to winter a string at the fairgrounds. Malcolm Pierce used to come down there as well with Samson horses. Hashtag good old days.
Oh yeah, yeah. I spent about 15 years wintering at the fairgrounds. It was a great place to develop a young horse.
And it's a great place to eat as well.
Absolutely.
The food there is on point. Oh, Aaron says, great. Thank you. Thank you for contributing to the conversation. Again, everybody, we are live right now. So if you want to say something, by all means, go ahead and pop that up. Let's see here. We'll go ahead and show this replay if you don't mind taking us through your perspective of the race as it plays out. Go ahead and share the screen here. And by the way, I think Woodbine does a great job of, they've got a whole section on their website of just the replays. Which is great for anybody who wants to just check out. They missed the action for some reason.
Now I have to put my glasses on.
No. So there we see, by the way, Dance to the Music. This was the horse I was telling you about who took a lot of the money here, 6-5 as we're seeing. And, beyond that, Deep Learning for Chad Brown, who just didn't fire for whatever reason. Okay, gonna go ahead and hit the play button, and she's on the rail there, y'all.
Yeah, so I mean, Fraser broke her sharply as we asked, and then just tried to get her to come off the bridle a little bit. Hot Mash on the lead was the filly that I was really concerned about hooking if we went straight to the lead. I think he's got her in a great position. She's where I wanted her to be. She's tugging at him a little bit. That worried me a little bit. I wanted her to come off the bridle a little more. As you see there, he drifted her off the rail, so he wasn't going to get pushed down and have it made too tight on him. Now, as it's going along, I'm just praying she finds a way through.
Yeah,
that's all. I'm just saying, find a way through, because it is the tighter turns, and on the outer course, it tends to spread out more, and the race opens up more. So on this inner, I guess that was my only concern. Are we gonna find our way?
Yeah, I mean, I just thought it showed so much professionalism for a 2-year-old filly to just sit tight there.
Yeah, she's very chill. She's very chill. At this point, coming around when I saw her start to engage here, I thought, wow, if she finds a way through, this could be really exciting, and there she came. She just blasts through them. She's and I think what helped her too, when Hot Mash engaged her a little bit, because I think she slows a little bit, and then as Hot Mash comes up on her, she loves to fight. She just loves that. There are horses that you really want to see something close to them, because it brings that out in them. And what made me really happy was this gallop out, looking forwards. She galloped out, I thought, really well.
Yeah, she, as we were discussing earlier, you could see again how determined she was to get up there. And as you mentioned, you're right. When Hot Mash tried to engage her, she was like, "Oh no!" It's like she pinned her ears even more. It's like, you're not coming back on me. And
there's her groom. He's dressed to the nines. He was so proud, so excited for him. And
oh my gosh,
Mario with his mother's almost 90, and she's a great
really
fan of the whole thing. She tries never to miss a race, and then she runs off to the slots.
Oh my God! Well, why not? Right? They've got the casino right there.
She's just a riot. So she cheers the horses on in Italian, and she just had a great day too.
Vamos, right? Oh my goodness. I'm Middle Eastern. Going back to names, my maiden name is Hakeem, but everyone would say Hakam. So I'm just one of those people, I'm used to it. I thought things would get easier when I got married and the last name became Carruthers. But no, it's funny. People can still find a way to mess that one up too.
I mean, over the years, people that hadn't seen me or didn't know me, I got Jose as well.
Jose.
They thought I was a Jose. So
Well, so my mom, from a different generation, she used to always say, I don't care what you call me, just don't call me late for dinner. That's, I'm the same way. But yeah, in just looking back at this race, this is obviously a filly who's just got a ton of heart. It was, and determination. And going back, the other thing I was going to say when you mentioned the slots was the last time I was at Woodbine. My friend, I was with a friend, and we were walking through the casino area. My friend put in a 20 spot into one of those, like the computer ones, not the one where you pull the lever. Gone, just done. And it just, for me, it really just put up, it was an exclamation point on how much better the horses are. Because at least you can put some.
I don't even go. I have to confess, I don't go in there. I mean, I prefer a thinking gamble where.
Yes, you put the work into it. There's a method to the horses. Of course, crazy things can happen. A horse can stumble out of the gate. Maybe there's a hook and cook situation we didn't anticipate. Something, but at least there's a reason.
Maybe about our younger fans would be more engaged when they learn how to handicap and how to bet.
That's the thing. We need to make that more accessible. Yeah. Well, I think also, we keep talking about these big wagers that can get a little complicated. And the focus of just having a strong opinion on a horse has kind of gotten lost.
Right. And I do find when, various owners of mine bring some young people out, they'll say, how did we not know Woodbine was here? This is so much fun. But it's the initial getting them to the races, getting them to see, how much fun horse racing is. I think in an era where we're very focused on animal rights and worrying about, that they're taken care of properly, we need to get people out there and see that these animals are doing what they love to do.
Oh yeah.
And they get the best of care and attention. And, if you look at their handlers and the pride they take in them, I think it gives people a different perspective, and they're more receptive then to the sport.
I completely agree with you. I think, it's cool. For example, I know Saratoga does the barn tours, and Keeneland has, you can go watch the horses work in the mornings. And a lot of I think it's also helpful the more we put the jockeys out there doing meet and greets and being able to talk about what they do, because I think they get judged very harshly by people who don't know what they're watching. And the trainers. And that was why I was so happy when they started EquestriaCon a couple of years ago. I'm sad that it hasn't gone on, but EquestriaCon was bringing everybody together from all different sectors of the industry, from the owners, trainers, breeders, photographers, the media personalities, the handicappers, everything, and under one roof. And I thought it was so great for that reason. And it just, for whatever reason, didn't continue on. And I think it's valuable to have something like that. You go to Keeneland a lot, and I'm sure you see, all those young people out there on the hill, and they're all having a good time.
For sure.
Yeah. But, I think people, they are paying attention. They're not just out there partying. I think a lot of people might think that's all that's happening over there, but no, they're paying attention, and they're playing the horses. And what a greater chance we have that they're going to come back again, even if there's not that big party happening on the hill, if they had a good experience because they won some money. They came out ahead in some way and had a memorable experience.
Absolutely.
And so, no, I completely agree with you. Have you been involved? I know you've done some panels in the past. Yes.
Not a lot. No.
No, I think it'd be great if, more of these initiatives to, get, people like you out and share your enthusiasm of the horses. Are you coming out for Keeneland this meet?
If I have the right horse.
Okay. Well, we always have to, hope that. And let me ask you this too, talking about, as we now look ahead to Del Mar, just the logistics of it. When you're not only, on the East Coast, you're in a different country. So the logistics of getting her there, how far in advance do you need to get her there? When do you need to plan for this? And how do you take what she did there going the 2 turns at Woodbine versus how you anticipate she might handle the course there at Del Mar?
Sure. I mean, a ton of questions that, have yet to be dealt with, but shipping is a big thing. And I think your horse's temperament is a big deal when you're shipping cross country like that. Looking back at past ones, Lee Court actually got kicked off the plane for misbehavior.
Oh no.
She did. We tried her a second time, and she also tried to demolish the plane. She was very temperamental. So in that case, we ended up having to van her to California, which was like a 2-day trip. And it, even though we took an entire tractor trailer and bedded it down like she was in a paddock, we tried everything. We stopped halfway at a veterinarian's to give her fluids. It still took too much out of her. So I think the trip is much more important than people realize.
No, I know. And I know also that not having Tex Sutton, right?
Exactly. That's a big loss, I think. It made it very easy to ship.
So, but that's one of those things too. I mean, I don't think people really appreciate, as you're discussing, just, before the races even run, they have to go on this journey. They have to go on this trip. And this is a long one. And ideally, how far in advance do you like to get a horse out to, when you're gearing up for a championship race? Do you like them to go there well in advance? Do you like to keep them at home as long as possible? I've heard different opinions from different trainers.
I think that's been a bit of a learning curve for me, and it's probably different with different horses on how they handle it. The most success I had obviously was with Amise Mesa, and she shipped very close. Mm-hmm. Careless Jewel, we shipped out well in advance because she was a very temperamental filly. And it seemed to me that the closer we got, the more revved up she got. And I think she just over anticipated what was going on with the ship. And of course, in the race, just went to the lead and gassed herself.
Oh, yeah. See, I mean, this is the thing. There's just so much that goes into it before you even get there. And I mean, also, going back to that last part of the question, what do you make of the different turf courses too?
Yeah, again, there's always a big difference in turf, maybe more so than many of the dirt courses. So they have to handle it, and there's no predicting how they will handle it.
No, so you just got to go in. I mean, do all you can, put them in the best position to give their best effort.
I think that's all you can do.
I got to tell you, like this has been so much fun. I've never had the opportunity. I see your name all the time. I've had to do, I do handicapping here and there for Woodbine. I get to team up with my friends from Woodbine for the Railbirds segments that we do. And I've seen your name, year after year after year there when I'm doing my handicapping, but I've never had the opportunity to actually speak with you. And it's just cool for me. I pinch myself, that I get to do this. I think that's part of it too. You're talking about the fandom. For as long as I've been doing these, interviews or even working in the industry, I never cease to think how thankful I am to have the opportunity to speak with people like you or meet, a horse that's really taken my heart on a trip. And I think if you're not sort of in, what's the word I'm looking for? If you don't feel that, if you're just sort of like, okay, this is my job, I got to do this, I got to interview this person after this, then you're in the wrong, you're doing the wrong thing, because it should always be exciting. And I think we should always, feel grateful to have the opportunity to listen to other people's stories within the industry, because everybody has a different one. And it's always so cool to hear how we all made it to whatever point each of us, the respective points we all happen to be. And for you are just like, again, just one of those names. When you see it in the entries, you have to take note.
Oh, well, thank you. And I think, we are a unique industry when you talk about, passion.
Yeah.
We're a very passionate group. All of us in whatever field we are in this industry. it's a tough business, long hours. It's a tough business to be in. So there's really no reason to be here if you don't have a passion for it.
Absolutely. I mean, for those who don't know, who are watching, who may be new to this, around what time do you have to get up every morning?
I am at the barn by 4:30 usually.
Oh my gosh. See?
So
Yeah, I'm glad I'm on this side of it. I'm glad I'm on this side of it. And so I mean that's the thing, but and there's no days off. There are no days off when you have these horses under your care.
not really. And but then you know, you have to, when I say I'm there by 4:30, maybe 4:45, I look back and I say by the time I got there, my crew's already been there. I get there and they have the horses ready for me to look at, because I do my morning walkthrough at that time. And at that time they have all their feed tubs out so I can see who ate. They have their bandages off so I can see them. So, you know, I need to give a big shout out to those people in the sport. They're the ones that make us look good.
Oh, well, I mean, it does take a team. It really, truly does. And it is cool to see when they get to be there in the winner's circle and see all that hard work pay off. Before I let you go, I should ask, just because, how many horses do you currently have? And is there anybody we need to keep our eye out for coming up, racing soon?
You know, I have 65 in the barn. And that's sort of the number that we like to stay at. It's enough horses. I think you need numbers. You need enough horses to get a chance at getting those good horses. But for me, the pleasure in it is being hands-on. So, you know, I kind of like to cap it at that, so that, you know, I can get my hands on the horses every day.
Yeah. And well, that's the thing. I mean, you don't want to get overwhelmed. And as far as, again, those entries goes, there's somebody that we need to
You know, I
write
think
down,
I've
put
got
in our stable meal.
2-year-olds coming up, but I hate to jinx them. So
No, okay. We won't.
it'll be a wait and see. I think in the next couple of weeks, I've got a couple of young horses that are very, very promising that hopefully show up.
Well, that's exciting to hear. And again, thank you so much, Josie, for your time. Because again, I know how much work goes into this. I know the hours are long. So the fact that you take time out of your day to sit with us here and share all this insight, it's truly, truly appreciated.
Oh, well, thank you for having me on.
Well, thank you, everybody. This has been your Future Stars forecast on a 2-year-old Tuesday, featuring Hall of Famer Josie Carroll. Thank you for watching, and I'll check you here next week.